Renunciation is the core lesson of the entire Bhagavad Gita. And unfortunately, the one concept that has been hopelessly misunderstood. So when you misunderstand renunciation, you don't understand renunciation is not so bad. When you misunderstand renunciation to be physical giving up, you reject the Bhagavad Gita, you reject renunciation, so you don't benefit from the marvels of renunciation. And therefore, you don't learn anything. So therefore, renunciation is not physical. It is in the mind. It is a question of what value you place on what the world has to offer to you. Renunciation is not the cause, it is the effect. When you practice acting in a spirit of service and sacrifice, when you step out of your comfort zone to feel one with people around you, as we saw in Nelson Mandela went well out of his way to feel one even with his tormentor. And when you gain knowledge of the distinction between the permanent and the impermanent, the result of all this is you reach a state of renunciation. So what is renunciation? Renunciation is not giving up objects of the world. It is possessing the best that the world has to offer, but giving up the possessiveness that you feel towards the object. So whether you have the object or not, you must drop the possessiveness for the simple reason that nothing in the world is yours. Even if you have paid for it, it's not yours. Renunciation is not giving up family members. It is rising above the selfishness, which is called attachment, which causes problems between you and the family members. Today, people across the world are suffering because they have not arrived at the right attitude, right viewpoint, right way of relating with their loved ones. And so, instead of it being a happy experience, every interaction gives trouble, agitation, sorrow, because you're full of expectations and demands. So, renunciation is defined in chapter 6, verse 1, in which Krishna says, Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha saha sannyasi. He is a sannyasi. Who? One who does what one ought to do without depending on the fruit of action is a sannyasi. So, renunciation is not about giving up action. It is giving up that which comes in the way of action, that which interferes with action, that which prevents you from performing perfect action. It's like a racehorse running with heavy weights on either side. That's what each of us is experiencing. And so therefore, when you act, it leads to fatigue. It is not the action that leads to fatigue, it is the stress that leads to fatigue. So that stress is something that you need to renounce. And that is worry over the past, anxiety for the future, without depending on the fruit of action. So just do what you have to do. Do what you ought to do, whether you like it or not, whether you have a desire to do it or not. You may have a desire, you may not want to do it. These are emotions of the mind, likes and dislikes of the mind. Set those aside and function with the clear counsel of the intellect. Let the intellect decide what you ought to do. Do it wholeheartedly, with all your being. Dedicate yourself to a higher ideal. And then, already got the fruit. The fruit is an immense satisfaction, that you have done what ought to be done. Satisfaction that you have acted to the best of your ability. And when you do this, you evolve spiritually, your desires reduce, clarity improves, your power increases, and that is fruit enough. Why do you want laurels and accolades from world? Because the world only knows mediocrity. The world cannot understand perfection.